How's it going, ladies and Bruce's up, Bobby Sixkilla, and welcome back to Quantum Suicide. It is time for our first round of the Deletion Game. Hopefully we survive the first round. Knowing me, probably not, but we'll see what happens.
Here's the slowpoke. You sure took your sweet time, didn't ya? Now that everyone's here, let the fun begin.
Fingers crossed, I'm not trusting the Vogels. That's for damn sure. At Dai's exclamation, the surface of the dining table was overlaid with 4 holographic terminals, one on each side of the table. We all gathered close to a nearby terminal to have a look. The one before me had 2 distinct areas. On the left was a blank card. The right-hand side of the terminal was dominated by the outline of a hand.
From this point onwards, transactions will take place in the dining hall. Parties involved in a transaction must be declared to me before entering the room, and only those involved in the transaction may enter this room.
Fair enough.
Any attempt to force your way in or otherwise interfere with the transaction will result in instant elimination. Once players have entered the dining hall, they must choose who will control the transaction by using the primary terminal. The primary terminal is the one in front of the phallic statue.
Great, why'd you have to call it a phallic statue?
Come on over and have a look.
I don't see any phallic statues. We all made our way to the primary terminal to verify Dai's information. She wasn't lying. The left-hand side of the primary terminal contained an additional section with 3 choices labelled Combine, Trade, Give.
To use a terminal, you must place your hand on the holographic screen. Once your handprint has been verified, your card number will appear on screen. If you have 2 cards, both will appear. The person at the primary terminal must then choose which transaction they wish to perform. The players stationed at passive terminals can see which action is chosen, but are unable to see the card numbers of other players participating in the transaction. Results of a combined transaction will not be known until judgment phase. The only information that will be displayed is who you have combined with and the total score. Results of a trade or give transaction will be noticeable during any following transaction, as your card number or amount will have either increased or decreased. In order to make sure that no one can see your card while you are transacting, each terminal has thick holographic walls. No one can know your card number unless you tell them. After all, half of the fun has been watching all of you lie to each other. I am available outside of the dining hall at any time should you need me to repeat these instructions or answer any other questions you may have. You have 1 hour to complete your transactions. I wish you all the best of luck. Now clear out. It's time to get the show on the road.
Let's do it. Dai ushered us out into the hallway. Suddenly, all pretense fell away as alliances grouped together publicly to finalize their strategies. Kimiko and Yoshiki, Nicholas and Beatrix, Shizuka and Katashi, Vladimir, Sora and Melody, and there I was, standing alone. I needed to decide who I was going to pair up with them fast. Groups stood in staggered clusters down the length of the hallway, all keeping a watchful eye on the door to the dining hall. None seemed willing to make the first move. Abruptly, Kimiko and Yoshiki broke off from the others and approached the hologram guarding the dining hall.
Yoshiki and I would like to use a transaction terminals die.
Very well. This way, please.
As soon as the 2 of them entered the dining hall, the door slid shut behind them. The audible click of the door's locking mechanism conveyed a clear message to the rest of the crew. We were not to enter under any circumstances. Everyone else was trying to finish their arrangements as quickly as possible. The longer you waited in this game, the more likely other players were to partner up or swap with someone else. This is it, the moment of truth. I decided to... sacrifice yourself as an option? Do nothing, hope for the best? Pair with Katashi and Shizuka. I made up my mind, I'd partner up with Katashi and Shizuka. Their altruistic desire to put the mission first was a deeply respectable one. They were trying to make the best of an impossible situation, appealing to reason in an attempt to prevent the crew from descending into anarchy, and I admired them for that. Katashi and Shizuka stood quite close to the door. They greeted me with smiling faces. Hey guys, does the offer to team up still stand by any chance?
It sure does.
We're glad you've decided to trust us. You won't regret it, I promise. It looks like the dining hall is going to be crowded for a while, though. Shall we come back in half an hour? We do have a bit of time left, and if we stay together, you know...
Keeps us from having to think about how one of us is going to die?
That's not how I would have said it, but yeah, that's the gist of it.
Woohoo! I bet we kill time by playing video games.
I knew I picked the right group.
Shizuka, you can play after we're done. Right now, we should all just try to get some peace and quiet. Let's head to the Eco Lounge.
Fine by me. The Eco Lounge is the perfect place to get away from it all, the proverbial eye of the storm. In spite of the tense situation they found themselves in, this place still managed to feel pure somehow. A tranquil sanctuary, only a brisk walk away from the Deletion Game. We whiled away 40 minutes in casual conversation as we lay on our backs in the soft grass, watching the stars drift overhead. By the time we returned, the hallway was empty. It seemed as though everyone had finished their business or decided to regroup elsewhere.
Yahoo! Are you all here to use the transaction terminals?
Yes. Shizuka, myself, and the newbie.
Okie dokie, Artichoke. You have 10 minutes to complete the transaction, at which time you will be forcibly removed from the dining room.
Can we just leave on our own accord, but earlier? As soon as we entered the room, the door closed behind us with a loud metallic clang. We agreed either that Shizuka would be in charge of the primary terminal, spending some time with them in the eco lounge had removed any lingering doubts from my mind. I knew they wouldn't betray me. I knew it in my heart. I made my way to the terminal opposite Katashi. Once I stepped in front of the terminal, the front and side walls prevented me from seeing anything. All of my attention was focused on the screen. Whatever happened here would determine my future. The sensation of placing my hand on something that wasn't physically there felt very surreal. I'd been expecting to feel a slight electric vibration, but there was nothing. My terminal beeped as my handprint was verified as my own. The terminal changed to display my name and card number, a lonely 5. On my screen I could see the word combine light up as it was selected. In a moment the readout changed to 5 plus Shizuka plus Katashi and it was done. We were officially allied.
Congratulations! Your transaction has been completed. Judgment will occur in 8 minutes. Thank you for participating in the Deletion Game.
We kinda don't have a choice. We exited the dining hall into the empty corridor.
I am glad that's over with. I don't think I've ever said that about a game before.
This isn't just a bunch of Pixars on a screen, Shizuka.
You mean pixels.
Whatever. The point is, it's not a
Pixars.
game.
Well, I think it's about time for the results.
Extra, extra! Be sharp, sing on rooftop.
Simpsons
attention,
reference?
attention. This round of the Deletion Game has come to an end. All participants are to meet in the dining room at once.
Dai's voice thundered through the ship. I froze. The moment we'd all been dreading had finally arrived.
You'd all better hurry. I'm not going to wait to announce the results, you know.
I closed my eyes, inhaled and exhaled deeply. I was as ready as I was ever going to be.
It's judgment time, everyone. If you'll all take a look up here, I've created a handy holographic scoreboard for your viewing convenience. You can thank me later. In a minute, this board will display everyone's final results. Keep in mind, the numbers of each individual player in a group will not be displayed, only their combined scores.
Okay, so you can't tell who fucked you over, just that someone fucked you over.
After all, what's done is done.
My heart was pounding so hard against the inside of my chest that it threatened to burst into pieces at any moment. Shallow, rapid breaths were all I could muster as I clenched my eyes shut, horrified to see my fate sealed in glowing letters and numbers.
Ooh, I'm just so excited for you all to find out the results.
I bet you were.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, we made 10. Oh, Sora's gonna die. That's a shame. She has no card. Why does she have no card? Who'd she give it to? What a relief. I was safe. I wasn't gonna die. A tremendous wave of relief washed over me. I knew people who baked cakes or played video games couldn't be that bad. Katashi, Shizuka and I all had glowing 10s above our names. It wasn't until my eyes searched further along the scoreboard that I saw it. Sora had a 0.
What is the meaning of this, Dai? You got our scores wrong. Why else would my wife have 0? Tell me this instant.
Vladimir stormed up to the hologram demanding an explanation. His once kind face was distorted with rage. A deep crimson color crawled up his neck as he hurled a string of expletives at Dai.
Hush now, love. Let me explain.
You gave your card to Melody?
Mommy, what's going on? Why is Daddy yelling?
Everything's fine, sweetheart.
Oh God, this can't be happening. Not again. I won't let you take the person I love away from me. You'll have to take me apart piece by piece before I let you touch a hair on this woman's head.
How dare you accuse me of cheating? You must play by the rules, human, and so must I.
It's not wrong, Vladimir. Please, honey, don't do this in front of Melody.
Who did this? Did one of you trick her into doing this? I can't strangle the hologram, but I can still bloody well strangle one of you lot.
Vladimir whipped around the room like a hurricane, threatening pain to everyone in the room.
Vladimir, stop. Please.
Please don't tell me this is true. This can't be true. I can't lose you.
All eyes were fixed on Vladimir, his fury gradually subsiding under the soothing influence of Sora's calming voice and tender caresses.
I'm so sorry.
Why?
His voice quavered, cracking slightly. It was a hurt voice, the voice of a broken man.
Why would you do this to me? To Melody?
I did this for you. For Melody. And for what's left of the human race. When we signed up for this mission, all those many years ago, we agreed that we would do whatever it took for this mission to succeed. After what happened to Charles, to your wife Amanda, to our friends. I never thought I'd be able to recover. Then one day, you made me the worst lamington I'd ever eaten. And then, all at once, I saw you clearly. Between the late night poker sessions and you letting me steal your chocolate rations, I realized that I loved you. And that I loved you for some time. But that doesn't change the mission.
I don't care about the mission.
Yes, you do. That's just the disbelief talking. You know that we still have a duty to this ship. That this is bigger than you or I. That's why I did it. I'm the most replaceable crew member.
Because Shizuka can do the navigation, right?
I've passed on everything I know to Shizuka. But you still have a job to do, our little Melody. She's going to be a scientist, just like her father. And she'll pass down that knowledge to her children. And they'll do the same to theirs. You're still necessary to this mission, my love.
I can't do this without you. Please, don't do this.
You can. You will.
She's already done it.
For Melody's sake.
Vladimir wrapped his arms around his wife and hugged her close to him. In that tender embrace, Vladimir conveyed the depth of his love for his wife in a way that transcended all words. He clung to her so closely, so desperately that it was painful to watch. It was impossible to shake the sensation that we were intruding on an intensely personal moment.
Mommy, what's going on?
Sora scooped Melody up in her arms, bringing her to rest up against her hip.
I'm sorry, sweetheart. I have to go away. But Daddy will be here to take care of you and keep you safe. Okay?
I don't want you to go.
I know it's going to be difficult, sweetie. But I'm sure that one day you'll understand.
Aw, aren't you guys just the cutest? But that's enough of that. Time is money, people. It's time to spin the wheel of fatality. Woo!
With a flourish, Dai conjured a sizable holographic wheel, split up into labelled sections. I barely managed to read them all before Dai passed judgment. Gravity, airlock, oxygen, incineration, and spacewalk. Each one sounded more ominous than the last. Within seconds, Dai gave the wheel a hefty spin, and the sections of the wheel blurred into one another. My eyes were fixed on the wheel as it gradually slowed, ticking its way to a standstill, as the arrow circled the dial, finally coming to rest on...
Incineration.
the worst one.
No time like the present. Let's head on down to the furnace room, shall we?
Can't I just have a few more minutes with my family?
No. Move it, sister. Everyone, follow me. As you'll remember from last time, attendance at executions is mandatory for all players participating in the Deletion Game. Come along now.
I will not allow Melody to watch. I absolutely refuse.
I must agree, Dai. Subjecting a child to the demise of a family member is unbelievably cruel.
Dai spat at her answer through gritted teeth and a plastered-on smile.
Melody is a participant, just like you. I won't bend the rules merely because she's shorter than the rest of you.
She's a child.
She's a member of this crew. Now, feel free to continue arguing with me, but for every second you push the issue, I'll be decreasing the amount of oxygen flowing into this room.
This is low, Dai. Even for you. Fine, we'll do it your way. It seems we have no choice in the matter.
And here I thought a little CO2 poisoning might improve your personality. Maybe next time, eh, Captain?
The march to the furnace room was grueling. I'd never seen a person die before. Like any reasonable person, it wasn't something I ever thought I'd have to see. My stomach revolted at the prospect. My mind felt completely numb. I couldn't imagine what Sora was going through right now. Sora set a slow pace to the furnace room, dragging out the precious time she had left to spend with her family. The sound of Melody's uncontrollable sobbing was the only sound that echoed throughout the bowels of the ship as we delved deeper than I'd ever ventured before. As we filed into the furnace room, the ambient temperature rose with every passing step, and I slowly became aware of the gentle crackling of flames. The cavernous room was dominated by the raging fire of the furnace itself, held at bay by a thick plane of reinforced glass. As the last group crossed the threshold, the door shut behind us with a resounding thud. Even on this side of the glass, the heat radiating out of the furnace was overwhelming. Although there was a maintenance access panel located on the chute emerging from the top of the furnace, this occasion clearly warranted the use of the hinged door cut into the glass. Why don't we just not do it? Like, she's non-tangible, right? Non-corporeal. She can't actually do anything to us. Well, I guess you can cut the oxygen, I suppose. Yeah, that's probably bad.
Here we are, Sora, for losing round 2 of the deletion
Or like
game.
opening an airlock.
You've been sentenced to death by incineration. I must insist that you enter the furnace immediately. No one goes out until she goes in and gets a little singed.
Company, fall in.
Everyone except Melody and Vladimir immediately formed a regimented line and raised their hands in the salute position. I tried to mimic their actions as best I could.
Navigation Officer Sora Carmine. You have served honorably aboard the Everett, and your many contributions to this mission have been indispensable. Your love and compassion for your fellow crew members have made this ship a better place to live. You will be greatly missed. Company, salute.
The entire line saluted in unison. Sora's smile was incredibly bittersweet. She stood up straight and meaningfully locked eyes with each of us before returning a salute of her own.
It's been a privilege being able to serve alongside such fine men and women. Godspeed, friends.
Sora,
You don't have to say a word. I already know.
Sora and Vladimir shared a deep, lingering kiss.
Goodbye, my love.
In you go, Sora. Clock's a ticking.
Sora crouched down face to face with Melody, who was clutching her father's lab coat tight in her fist. Melody's face was lined with tears, which continued to flow freely.
Now, Melody, I need you to do something for me, sweetheart. When I step in there, I need you to close your eyes and not open them, no matter what. Do you understand? Don't open your eyes, sweetie.
Okay.
Listen to your father. Be a good girl. Love without measure. I love you, Melody. You're the light of my life. And I hope that one day you'll understand and be able to forgive me. Always remember that I love you. Always.
Sora hugged her daughter one final time, kissed her on the forehead, forced a smile, and stood up.
I'm ready, Di.
About time.
I could feel the searing heat on my skin as Sora opened the door to the furnace and stepped inside, shutting the door behind her.
Mommy, don't!
Melody rushed toward the glass, banging her hands against it in desperation, as if it had only just struck her what was about to happen. The blaze licked at Sora's ankles as she bent down and smiled comfortingly.
It's okay, sweetie. Everything will be fine. Close your eyes, honey.
Come back!
Melody stood dejected, tears cascading down her cheeks onto the floor as she stood watching her mother numbly. The tongues of flames began to blacken the navigation officer's uniform, causing violent blistering welts to break out on her exposed skin.
Close your eyes. Melody, close your eyes. Vladimir, make her close her eyes. Please.
Vladimir bent down and forced Melody to turn away from her burning mother's visage. Smoke poured off Sora's scorching body. Animalistic howls racked her body as she shrieked, unable to bear the pain any longer.
Melody, honey, look at Daddy. It's okay, honey.
The last thing I saw was Vladimir pulling Melody into a hug, holding her head so that she couldn't turn to look at her mother, whose charred skin was starting to slow off from the muscle underneath. I clamped my eyes shut, sickening at the sight of her gruesome death. Even with my eyes shut, my imagination ran riot as a visceral thump reverberated throughout the room. The putrid smell of burning human hair and flesh pushed me over the edge, causing me to gag. Cold air whooshed in behind me as the doors finally opened. I opened my eyes and scrambled toward the exit as fast as my legs could carry me. We all spread out in the corridor, eager to get some breathing room after the horrific execution we just witnessed. Beatrix and Nicholas held each other for emotional support. Shizuka knelt nearby, her body racked by irregular spasms, holding down the contents of her stomach through sheer force of will. Poor Vladimir, even though his face remained drawn, his eyes were bright red from crying. He was still doing his best to hold it together for Melody. No matter how hard Vladimir had tried to comfort Melody, however, she remained inconsolable, screaming and thrashing in his arms in a futile protest against her mother's cruel fate. One by one, we left the two of them alone, unable to endure the sight of their anguish any longer. As we left the area, a voice taunted us through the intercom.
The next round of the Deletion Game begins in 24 hours. Sweet dreams, everyone!
Oh my god, that was just the prologue? That was horrifying. I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my stomach unsettled by my all too recent exposure to the stench of burning flesh. What made it worse was that it was all my fault. If I'd never been brought aboard the ship, Dai's deadly failsafe measures would never have been activated. Sora would still be alive, Melody would still have a mother, and Vladimir a wife. My stomach churned as the images of Sora popped back in my head. I tried my best to forget those gruesome images and replace them with the soft smile I just saw a few days ago while eating lunch with her. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't escape the sobering reality of the situation. Sora was dead. Silence filled the room for what felt like an eternity. Suddenly, Ai appeared next to the bed, her head hung low.
This is my fault.
Her eyes reflected a sadness that I'd never thought a computer program was capable of feeling. What? No, it isn't. If anyone's to blame, it would be me.
My records are quite complete. Throughout human history, many cases have come before the courts in which a person committed a crime but chose to plead insanity, asserting that they were not themselves when they inflicted harm on others.
Yeah, but...
I have footage of people killing others, people who claim they weren't responsible after the fact. Yet these video records confirm, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the accused were, in fact, the culprits. They have not been altered in any way. It was that person.
This isn't like that.
Why isn't it? It is my programming that is killing my friends, killing my family. I watch you die like you would watch a film. I just watched one of my friends burn through my eyes as a result of my actions. It is my programming, in essence, what makes me, me. So why can't I control it? Why is it conflicted?
Do you want your friends to die?
Of course not.
Look at me. I raised her head to look at me. If she didn't glow like a star in the night sky, you'd have no way of knowing that the face wasn't human. Her eyes glistened, betraying that she was about to cry. This had never been your fault, and it never will be.
No,
I don't want to hear it. You have no control over your programming. You didn't write the code, nor set up its structure. Asking you to control that is like asking me to grow my hair out red instead of grey. I can't change it, and neither can you. Sure, I can dye it to try and hide the grey, but in a genetic sense, it's still grey.
I suppose you are right.
However, this does give me an idea. I looked at me for the first time with a hopeful smile. Could an AI feel hope? I honestly didn't know, but if her current demeanour was any indication, they certainly could.
What is it?
Hear me out. I may not be able to genetically change the fact that I have grey hair, but locating which gene in my genetic map causes me to have grey hair is a whole other matter.
I don't think I understand your idea.
We need to reprogram your ass. Of course. Why didn't I think about this before? I gave me a quizzical look, tilting her head slightly to one side. To say that I have grey hair is one thing, but understanding how and why I have grey hair is another thing entirely. Do you have access to your programming?
Of course I do. However, I cannot alter anything.
No, of course not. You weren't designed with service in mind, programmed to serve at the administrator's behest.
Indeed. I am the Artificial Intelligence Unit Everett, model number 11037. I was created for the sole purpose of conducting activities aboard the Everett.
Ai's eyes took on a distant, glassy look as she rattled off her service history.
First served under Captain Ayumu Yukimori, now deceased. Currently serving under Commanding Officer Captain Kimiko Yukimori.
Yes, of course. The real question is, can you access your programming without Dai knowing?
I don't know.
Is there any way for you to find out?
I am not sure what her capabilities are.
Okay, do you think you could try and find out?
How do you suggest I proceed?
For now, try to locate her particular programming within the AI system. Just tell me when you find it, and I'll see what I can do.
Very well.
This could be the way in. If I can access her programming, I should be able to delete it, or at the very least disable it. Thank you, I
haven't completed the task yet.
No, I mean for coming and seeing me. I didn't even know I was going to end up... How I was going to get up and face the day, but now... We might actually be able to fix this. Perhaps even prevent any more crew members from going to their deaths. And it's all thanks to you, I. I's face lit up with a smile. For the first time since the execution, she looked just like the AI, or the I'd first met a week ago. The smile washed over me, and I felt happier than I thought possible given the circumstances. Everything was going to be okay. I was going to make sure of it.
Well, I have duties to attend to before breakfast.
I bowed and left as quickly as she came. Even though my eyes were heavy and my body felt sluggish, there was no way I could sleep. Enough wallowing in self-pity. Being sad isn't going to bring back Sora. I'd promised to fix this, to save her family and the mission. The day had started, and I was already burning daylight. I jumped out of bed, energized by my renewed resolve. Time to get moving. Nothing gets the day started like... a shower. As my mother was wont to say, there's nothing quite like a hot shower to start the day and a cold one to end it. I still couldn't wrap my head around the sheer luxury of baths aboard the Everett. Having lived in a small shuttle with my parents my whole life, we'd had access to a basic shower, but nothing like this. And yet, regardless of its unnecessary extravagance, I found it easier. If people could make a bath this wonderful in a spaceship, I'd have loved to indulge in one on Earth back in its prime.
What prey walks unknowingly into my den?
Oh no. I swear to science, Beatrix, how do you move so quietly? You always manage to startle me.
It's a family trait. Both my brother and I inherited from our beautiful mother. She was able to move more quietly than I could ever hope to. Our father used to say that she slunk gracefully.
Like a beautiful rat. Really? It's a family trait? I never saw Nicholas as the type of person who would stalk people.
Trust me. The only reason you ever notice his presence is because he allows you to.
Beatrix threw me a wink. What a strange family trait. Come to think of it, I hadn't inherited anything from my parents except... Well, I inherited my parents' hair color.
You're cute, sailor. Oh, it's a good thing you're here. I needed to talk to you.
What about?
Well, I don't know if you realize this or not, but my brother and I kind of lied to you about our numbers.
Yeah. But they lied to me about their numbers? Now that she mentioned it, there was something fishy about yesterday's results. Wait, you tried to kill me?
Well, yeah, but only a little bit.
What the hell?
What? I didn't do anything wrong.
I'd say trying to kill me definitely qualifies.
I prefer to look at it as trying to save my brother from a murderous AI system that you somehow triggered.
Do you really think that justifies your actions? Beatrix's mischievous expression hardened into a monstrous grimace. Beatrix's eyes twitched noticeably as she approached, her gaze suddenly transforming into a terrifyingly intense glare. She was clearly not going to let me leave her sight anytime soon.
I lost my father less than 2 weeks ago. I wasn't about to lose my brother, too.
Although Beatrix wore her anger plainly on her face, I could sense an undercurrent of sadness behind her abrasive facade. I'm sorry. Beatrix was taken aback by my response. She may have expected me to argue or hurl accusations at her, but never to sympathize with her. To be honest, I probably would have done the same thing if I was in her shoes. Of course I would want to protect the ones I loved. I would have done the same thing if I were you.
Really?
No.
Hair color.
Beatrix giggled to herself, muttering about hair color before turning her attention back to me.
So, what brings you here this morning?
I know this may blow your mind, but I shower. I felt myself cringe as I finished the sentence. Beatrix looked tensely at me. It didn't look like she'd taken my sassy comment too well.
I think the sexiest thing about a person is their sense of humor. Keep up the good work, sailor.
I will. Now, if you'll excuse me, I would love a shower.
Don't let me being here stop you.
Beatrix didn't move an inch. She stood there staring at me as if waiting for something to begin. You want a show, do you? I'm not showering in front of you. Now get out.
Sheesh, someone's a killjoy. If you change your mind about an audience, I'll be in the medical bay.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Beatrix left the baths and I could finally shower in peace. I turned the shower on and faced the shower head face on. The water stung as it hit my face before trickling down my chin. After just a few minutes alone, I found myself wishing that she was still there, making blatant advances and comments laced with sexual innuendo. As soon as I was left with my own thoughts, my mind started to wander back to yesterday's execution. I finished my shower quickly to avoid being alone any longer than I had to. I jumped out of the shower and headed back to my room. I entered my room and put all of my toiletries away. No use taking them to breakfast. I made my way to the dining hall. As I entered, I was greeted with familiar faces, some of which seemed a little more haggard than yesterday. I can imagine. Alright, we're going to wrap this one up here, and we're day 5. We passed one execution already, so, you know, not bad for us, considering first attempt will land. We'll see how far we get. Till that, because Judith, thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out for me, and I'll see you in the next one.